It was Professor Plum in the comic room with the PSA slab. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. So we have a really interesting viral video to talk about. This one coming out of Brixco Comics that actually happened to be shared by the 99 newsstand. He made a video that was basically a very scientific, maybe not so scientific, test over a CGC and a PSA case to just determine how durable these cases actually are. And in this video, I wanted to kind of watch it with you guys and talk about some of the conversation going around in the community with it, because I think it's kind of funny. I mean, it's basically ridiculous of a test in and of itself, but it's also kind of funny. And what's maybe more interesting is that PSA actually shared it. Are we in the grading wars? Well, in this video, we're going to talk about it. But of course, before I get into it, if you guys could like, comment, subscribe, I appreciate it. Helps support the channel doing those things. But there you guys see it. This, again, is coming out of Brixco Comics, his IG account. He made this video that was shared by the 99 newsstand. But we're going to play it here together and see what Brixco actually had to say and demonstrate with the PSA and CGC slab. Here we go.
Nothing's wrong with it. But so here's
I mean, that's no good. That's not good. That's a bad thing. You know, I'm not a plastic expert, but when plastic breaks, that's probably a big bad.
See the difference?
Oh, make it stop. I mean, I gotta admit, like, I don't know how necessary the case needs to be that hard, but if we're talking about needing to bludgeon someone, the PSA case has got you covered.
These things are like indestructible. Like legit, these things.
What does he actually have written on the thing? Boxes do not. Oh, I thought it was like an angry girlfriend copy. Sorry, I'm getting distracted.
Nothing. Other corners. This thing. Look, it's just shattered. Every corner I hit it with just completely shattered and broke apart. Look, this even broke. I didn't even realize this broke.
That's not good.
That broke from it shattering. I didn't even realize that.
In case you guys don't know, that's the inner well, you know, in the side of the plastic case. The comic book doesn't just sit in the plastic. It's actually in this other piece of plastic called the inner well that is inserted into the harder exterior plastic, which actually brings us back to, you know, reholder gate and all that stuff. That was actually the thing that was being swapped out. But it seems as though the CGC one also cracked as well. Although I feel like it's kind of obvious that that part cracked because once you break the hard exterior and you keep slamming the corner into your desk, then you're also going to hit the inner well and that's going to break too.
So not only did the case shatter, but the inner well shattered as well. Like it got torn when it shattered. What other test do you need?
Well, there you have it. Brixco Comics with basically a commercial for PSA right there. What other tests do you need? Although, is that really true? Is it really the case, no pun intended, that the most important thing for grading companies is for the slabs themselves to be indestructible? I kind of don't necessarily think that that's true. And also, when you slam the cases down, you know, you're still creating a lot of like trauma and force onto the comic book itself. Not to mention, why would you ever slam your comic book down like that? I can't imagine a world where I would ever slam a case like that. But then again, I'm not an angry girlfriend. So, you know, I guess there is precedent for this. But one of the things, again, I think that is so interesting about this whole demonstration is just the conversation going around it. And maybe more importantly, the fact that PSA, their Instagram account, actually shared this thing, which I thought was, you know, a little bit of fighting words, And it's really interesting to me because I kind of feel like, you know, based on what team you think that you're on, all of a sudden there's this like line in the sand and everyone's got to jump on teams. And, you know, for clarity, you know, when it comes to me, it's like I like both companies. I think it's great. I think it's awesome that we have two options for comic books to be housed in plastic, never to be read again. I mean, this is a glorious time that we're living in these days. You know what I mean? This is incredible. Well, let's check in with the comments and see what the community has to say about this. In a related note, Brixco Comics also offers discount childcare services. Minor Key says, thanks for the video. I do use my Slab comics for batting practice, so this was very helpful. It's so funny that, yes, science says that if you slam a CGC case as hard as you can into a solid table, you will break the plastic. We couldn't have known that that would actually be a thing that the plastic would break. But, it's good that we now got that test. I can appreciate the dexterity of the PSA case, and perhaps I will grade some books to keep. However, the jury is still out. I have faith in PSA's grading reputation, and I'm hopeful that they will provide CGC with competition. The market will decide. Yes, indeed, the market will decide, and that's why we keep checking in. I mean, guys, I'm memeing a little bit here, and we're kind of having a conversation because this was a video that just, frankly, it got a ton of views. I mean, this is one that was shared an amazing amount of times, even for a video that came out of 99's Newsstands account, which is basically always going to have a lot of views and a lot of people interacting with this post. But for whatever reason, I mean, people shared this one a lot. And that's kind of why I felt like making a video about it, because it is just kind of so silly. I mean, this is, again, something that I would never recommend that anybody do this. And also, just because a case is extremely hard and durable doesn't mean that the book inside cannot be damaged. It can definitely still be damaged. But I guess you can say if you do have an accident, you drop a graded comic or it falls off your wall or whatever the case may be, it does stand to reason that the PSA case seemingly will protect it. I mean, I don't know if we got any scientists or physics people in the comments down below, but definitely weigh in on that, because I would definitely want to hear what you guys have to say. And it actually kind of takes us to some of the other conversation about the fact of why do we want cases to break? And again, I don't have a horse in this race, guys. I'm a neutral party. I'm just here calling it like I see it. I like both companies, like I already said. I like some graded comic books. I like some raw comic books. I'm not somebody who is particularly gung-ho one side or the other, or feels we can't live in a world where there's not both PSA and CGC and raw books and graded comic books, and we can't live all hunky-dory together. But one of the big things that people talked about is the idea of, do you want the cases to be somewhat breakable? Because one, people are going to be cracking the books out all the time, getting signatures on them, trying to go for presses and resubmits, trying to get the bumps, get the better grades. I mean, this is definitely something that is in the culture of comic book collecting. And, it does make it harder for your local presser to be able to have to be able to crack out that book from the PSA slab versus the CGC one. Maybe pressers in the comments can weigh in on how they feel about this, if they've actually had to yet break open a PSA slab, and would that make it more difficult for them to actually be able to get the book, say if they need to get it to a signing event or whatever the case may be, and can they actually do it without damaging the book inside? It is something at least to consider. Now, the other part of it is that a lot of people were saying in the comments that you want the cases to be tamper evident. This was something that kind of goes back to my conversation with Steve Borak when the Holdergate situation was going on. He talked a lot about the design philosophy of the cases, them needing to be somewhere tamper evident, which is to say that you can see that if someone tries to get into the case, it actually does break, it actually does shatter. Now, I don't know. I feel like that's a little bit of cope. If you're somebody who's designing a thing, and let's say you don't want to pay for the expensive plastic materials, and you're actually just trying to rationalize in your head, oh, well, it's good that it actually shatters when you try to open it, because then that way, if somebody tries to sneak in a book, then the buyer will be able to determine that this is actually not a proper slab, which, I guess didn't really stop, the Holdergate situation at CGC regardless. So I don't really know how much that actually holds up. But it is something that people do talk about, and maybe you guys can weigh in the chat and let me know what you think about all this. But again, interesting video, Hulk smash, PSA comic book case smash, and CGC comic book case shatter. That's definitely what happened in Brixco's video today. I thought it'd be kind of funny to touch on this one. I put a link to the video and the accounts in the description. Be sure to go check them out. But before we wrap it up, just for some bonus content here, we're also on the heels of New York Comic Con right now, and Whatnot releasing their Marvel trading pack once again the Whatnot Marvel 25. You guys remember when this came out last year? I did the pack rip of this, and I thought it was interesting because at the time in which I did this, I actually talked about how this was a really cool idea. I know we've kind of discussed the trading card pack and it going to comic books as kind of being a little bit of an eye roll thing. Not a lot of people like this stuff, but I thought that this particular version of it was a good use of it because it kind of shows like, okay, what are the good books that came out this year? What's another way to kind of pick them up that isn't just sort of a facsimile reprint? But again, the Marvel Whatnot trading packs, they're coming out, and I thought it'd be kind of funny to kind of check in on some of the recent sales. Check this out. Year-end Marvel 24 variant, one sealed pack. This is the one that happened last year. We actually got a recent sale for this one. This just happened yesterday, $236.10. I cannot for the life of me remember what these packs were going for back then, but that sounds right to me. Now, coming out with their trading card packs once again, you can already see the Whatnot 25s already moving. 125 for one 3-pack right there, 325 for a box. So that seems like a lot cheaper than it was before. 425 for another box right here, 275 for another box. So a little bit up and down with the prices, but a few sales back to back to back. So that'll be interesting to see if it ends up getting hot this week. I certainly will report on it if it does end up getting hot. But I thought it'd be kind of interesting to check back in on it, being that this was a shorter video and New York Comic Con is just around the corner. Which, speaking of, if you're going to be at New York Comic Con, be sure to check out our original comic art panel. That's going to be on Thursday, October 9th, 2:15 to 3 p.m. in room 1C03. We're going to be talking about original art. We're going to have some amazing pieces up on display. I mean, pieces worth, well into 6 figures. I think we're going to have the first cover of Miles Morales, the first cover, or I guess the first appearance really, but the original art for the cover of Miles Morales, the UF4, as well as Edge of the Spider-Verse #2. So go see those in person. We got Dinesh, we got Mike, we got Patrick, all going to be giving us incredible insight into art collecting, the original art space, which again, I keep saying it, is definitely something that is getting more and more exciting. Anyways, that's all for this video. That was me kind of going a little bit of a grab bag of things and topics to talk about. What do you guys think about PSA's indestructible cases? Do you guys think that this is really a feature? Is this something that we actually need in comics? Is it the most important thing that is like what you want from your graded comic book services? Or at the end of the day, is it really about grade the book? Give me accurate depiction of how pristine my comic book is. And hopefully you get a decent secondary market value. I feel like that's really all we ask for. Anyways, that's all for this one. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. See y'all in the next video.